Joining me at this time is the French Frankenstein, Pierre Carl Ouellet, also known affectionately as PCO. He is obviously a legend in this business and a Ring of Honor newcomer. Pierre, thanks for joining me.
Thanks. It's a pleasure.
It's an absolute honor for us. So I could spend hours talking about your legendary career up until 2011 when you decided to retire. But then in 2016, you go through a career renaissance. You burst back on the scene with this new identity, PCO. You take the scene by storm, and then you find yourself signed by Ring of Honor. What was that whole experience like? What made you decide to come back?
Well, what is called almost like a retirement. It wasn't a retirement. It was just at the time in 2010, 2011, pretty much all the doors were closed for me. And I just kind of toned it down because I didn't know from where to start. I didn't know where I should go, what should be my next move, because I'm the kind of guy that, when I was young, I had something that I wanted to accomplish, and I'm not gonna stop until it's accomplished, So I really want to make that demonstration that what I thought at 14 years old and what I envisioned and what I wanted to become, I really got to do it. And so 2010, 2011, pretty much nothing is going on. I kind of toned down a little bit on the wrestling. I started to work harder on gymnastics, on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, on karate, kyokushin. I tried to get new moves and new things into my character, who I want to become really, and I'm trying to see what works in the business and what doesn't work. And I went through that phase where I decided that I wanted to get better, and around then I've done a few shows here and there. 2011, I made a lot of shows. And beginning of 2018, during the 2017, I met D. Destro. 2018 had a hell of a year, and just before 2019, I signed with ROH.
So my next question would be, why ROH? I know there has been rumors going around that WWE did reach out to you, but you decided to sign with ROH, and obviously you've been doing an amazing job there. You made a huge impact joining Villain Enterprises right off your debut. What made ROH appeal to you so much?
Well, one of the biggest reasons is Marty Scurll and Brody King. I knew both of them. I knew Brody King for working during 2018. I've had a feud with him. Have had a lot of matches against him, and I thought he was a really good talent, and he was, it was someone that I really thought that he was one of the best in the business. Marty, I met him in 2008 while I was over in England, and we got along great. So when ROH approached me, and there was discussions about making a faction and calling it Villain Enterprises with Marty and Brody, I knew that was going to be this was going to be a good opportunity for me as far as being part of something really big. And on top of that, just the way that ROH are working hand in hand with their talents on the creative side of it, and they don't impose anything. They want to make sure you have a good feeling for what they're asking us to do. And the way that, they dealt with me was very, very professional, and with a lot of class, a lot of respect. And I really did appreciate that. And that's one of the major reasons why I decided that I wanted to sign with this company.
And what do you think has changed most in the wrestling scene, maybe backstage or in your own personal experience from, your earlier days to now? How would you say the wrestling business has changed?
I don't think it will ever change backstage. I think the wrestling business, for what it is, it's like when you have a lot of people working for, say on a movie set or something like that. There's You know, we got top guys, we got middle guys, we got guys working on the bottom, but and that creates sometimes jealousy, or people aren't happy because someone else is getting a break and it's not them, and things like that. So the nature of the business is what it is. So that's not going to change. But in the ring, what did change a lot, there's a lot of combos now, a lot of sequences, you know, where you stack up like 3 or 4 moves together. That leads to something else. So it used to be like one big move, and, you know, it was like sometimes it was going by, and, you know, it'd take a lot of time sometimes before something else was going to happen. So again, the speed is, now it's much faster. It's much more spectacular. You got a lot of guys doing flips and like gymnasts and guys that work trampoline parks and things like that. So there's a big evolution, and then since the UFC has became so strong, there's a lot of guys that they used to be fighters, and now they make that transition to wrestling. So we got more sometimes the storytelling of a real fight, you know, like almost a UFC fight. And I think the best mix is having like a different storytelling that what it used to be in wrestling, where you could work a body part and then you always go to that body part, which it was becoming sometimes a little bit boring, I think. So there was much more action, and like I said, the speed has increased, and the way that they'll story, it's a little bit different. So that's the major changes.
So has that been a hard transition for you making that change to a faster paced style? Have you had to work, you know, with the guys to get them more adapted to an old school style, or to slow them down, or have you just picked up your own pace to match them?
No, I pretty much design my stuff accordingly to what it is in our days now, and what's happening today. I made the adjustment myself. And I think that's beautiful. You know, that's what it's beautiful about. That's the greatest thing about it. It's that I never asked them to adjust to me. I did adjust to them, and that's I think, you know, the best mix now. It's having those guys that can make the transition from fighting to wrestling, but, you know, coming with a strong character like I did. The Frankenstein, and I think that kind of changed a little bit the business last year and this year, where now you see a lot of more wrestlers who's trying to come up with character instead of just having like the trunk and a good body. You know, it's there's a lot of guys now trying to come up with some creativity on videos, on vignettes, be creative in the ring as well. And I think that's the perfect mix now, you know, where we need those characters there in wrestling. That's why it's wrestling, you know, it's not fighting. So wrestling is there to entertain you and to through all the emotions, not just, you know, on one particular thing, but as far as, you know, when you see a character, it reminds you something that you saw, that you lived in your life, and it brings back souvenir to you. And you had that with, you know, the speed of today and the agility and things like that. So I think it makes a perfect combo.
Pierre, I'd like to say hello. My name's Mark. I'm producer here. I was just checking out the website, rohwrestling.com, while I was looking at the tickets for tomorrow at Lakeland at the RP Funding Center, where we're going to get to finally watch you perform live, PCO. I also see that May 9th, you go back to Toronto for War of the Worlds. I'd like to know what that's like. I think you've been back to Toronto already. What's the reception like there for you? And any plans to go to Montreal or anything like that? I'm a Canadian from Edmonton, so I'm very interested.
Well, on a personal level, one of my goals would be to bring ROH to the Bell Center, where the Montreal Canadiens are playing right now. I'd like, you know, to put like a few thousand people in that building, and almost similar to the Gardens, Madison Square Garden in New York, where we're going to perform in front of 20,000 plus people. The Garden sold out for April 6th at the Garden, in less than 20 minutes. So I think the same craziness could happen in Montreal. And when I go to Toronto or any other place in Canada, it's always, something special. But I gotta say that wherever I go lately, whether it's Chattanooga, in Tennessee, or Texas, or Louisiana, Los Angeles, or New York, Florida, it's been a very warm welcome. People are chanting PCO, 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 or he's not human, she's not human, and all that. So it's been, it's been a crazy ride. And the good thing about this crazy ride is it's upgrading all the time. It's getting bigger and bigger, and that's why now, hopefully, we can sell out the Montreal Bell Center in Montreal.
If anyone can do it, it'd be you. You did it with Nash many times in the past, and we'd love to see you do it again, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks a lot.
So what was your inspiration for the French Frankenstein character? I mean, a lot of people are relying on nostalgia that are trying to make a second run now. They're trying to call back to what they were before, but you created something completely new, something unexpected. What was the inspiration for that?
Yeah, I knew in order to come back, I wouldn't come back and be just Rebecca Pierre or Jean-Pierre. I didn't want to come back on nostalgia, I wanted to come back with something new and something great and something awesome. And for me, I just knew I needed like a great character that would fit my personality. And it was about like the second or third video that we shot. That was for the Walter match in New Orleans last year during the WrestleMania weekend. And Destro, who is my creator, in a way, because, he's the one who created that character, and he's my personal trainer as well. And when I met him in 2017, I knew that was my last strings, my last hope, or one of my last hope to the dream that I had when I was 14 years old, to be the next Hulk Hogan. And knowing what I knew when I met them, like he's a guy who lost like 168 pounds and kept it off for like 10 years. He's a guy who's older than me, but he just classified for the World Championship in arm wrestling in his weight category at 135 pounds, but the 20 years old guy. And the greatest, the strongest guy in this category. So, accomplishing like great things like that in a sport like arm wrestling, which is like all over the world, and having the chance to get him to be my personal trainer and train me and showing me all the tricks and all the discipline and everything that I needed to do in order to accomplish what I wanted to do. So we're shooting that third vignette, and he's showing me just before he showed me how to roll a fry pan. So I've practiced until I was capable of rolling a fry pan. And he was hitting me in the chest to get me ready for Walter, because Walter is from Austria, near Germany, and he's a guy who's like 6'4" and 300 pounds, and he chops with his hand. He slaps you on the chest real hard. So I was getting ready for him. So he's hitting me with the fry pan on the chest a few times, and then I blocked him at once. I rolled the fry pan, and I got out of the straps because I was doing the abs while he was hitting me with the fry pan in the cage, in the squat cage. And I got out of those straps, the straps that were holding my elbows while I was doing abs, and I started walking towards the exit, at the end of the video. And when we finished, when we got done with the video, he told me, you know what, you walk just like Frankenstein. And we kept on doing videos and vignettes, and we didn't even know that. And when people was they were coming to us and they were saying like, what you just shot is just like a scene in the movie Frankenstein. I mean, he knew, Destro knew that I was walking like Frankenstein a little bit, but we didn't know that what we were shooting was actually scenes of the movie. And then when we did realize that, we knew we were onto something big.
Well, Walter's chops are definitely world-renowned, so to be able to stand up to those, it's understandable why you would walk like Frankenstein after that, and what an amazing story for that origin. You had mentioned earlier an interest in jiu-jitsu and MMA. Would you ever take an interest in stepping into the octagon or having a fight of that nature?
For right now, I'm focused on reaching my goals. And this is just another sport, we can never say no, or we can never say never. But for right now, I'm really focused on wrestling. Wrestling is my main passion. Wrestling is everything for me. And I think when you start, going to every other sport, maybe you're lacking in your own sport. So I'd rather put all my energy, all my focus on wrestling, because this is what drives me. This is really my world. This is me. This is PCO. And I did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I still do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I still strike and karate and things like that, and practice and do the pads and do the drills. But it's just too improve, to get better in wrestling. For me, it's a way to get better in wrestling. It's not itself a sport that really drives me as much as wrestling, as pro wrestling.
I love that answer, I have to say.
Well, you and Brody are actually embroiled in a feud with the Briscoe brothers right now, the good old boys. How has that experience been, and are we looking forward to seeing maybe the next chapter of that tomorrow in Lakeland?
Well, tomorrow I think we both. Tomorrow we got, I think, in Lakeland, I think it's a 6-man tag against Kingdom, and I think Sunday it's more me against Mark, and I think it's Brody against Jay.
And that's in Miami, by the way. If you can't make the Lakeland show, be sure to go to Miami, ROHWrestling.com. That's where you get the tickets, and they're still available. You get them at will call. The Miami show is going to be hot, man. If I could make it, I'd be there.
Yeah, there's a lot of anticipation about me and Mark Briscoe and Jay and Brody. When we left San Antonio, Texas, and the last day that we wrestled there, it was total chaos. We were hitting each other with chairs on the head, and there was no protection whatsoever. It was like the Far West. It was really crazy. So we'll see how it goes this weekend, but for sure it's going to be action-packed for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be an old school fight. Well, Pierre, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I want to thank you so much for joining us. If you would like to see PCO, Brody King, Jay Lethal, all the stars of Ring of Honor, it's not too late to get tickets.
He still got it.
He still got it for sure.
Still got it.
It's not too late to get tickets for Ring of Honor Bound by Honor Saturday, February 9th at the RP Funding Center in Lakeland. More details on the event and to purchase tickets, just go to ROHWrestling.com. PCO, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, and I invite everybody to go on my Twitter at PCO is not human. Please, if you can, check it out. There's a lot of things there. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity.